Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. Coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our program this evening. Now we're going to talk about earthquakes. We're definitely going to talk about earthquakes. We're going to talk about earthquake preparedness tonight. But before we get started with that, I want to give people a little more time to get in here to this program. So right now, we're going to have a salute to the United States of America by the singing of the United States National Anthem. I would ask everybody right now to please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's glass gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
I would love to let them know it. That's one of the reasons that we put this salute to the United States military and the United States of America here on the program every day. I want everybody to know it. I want the United States military to know it, and I want everybody within the sound of my voice to know how much we appreciate these men and women of our United States military. It doesn't just have to be the United States Army, as this barbershop quartet is. It's not just the United States Army. It's also the Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Navy, Space Force, and Coast Guard. It's everybody. I want to thank everybody for their service. I want them to know how much we appreciate them. After the Vietnam War, our soldiers came home. There was no pomp and circumstance. Nobody welcomed them home. Many of them were treated like garbage, like scum of the earth. I don't want that ever to happen again. Our United States military forces deserve a hero's welcome. They sacrificed their lives, their time, their efforts, the time with their families that they could have had to go out and serve our country. I want to thank also our allied military, all of the forces from the countries that are allied with the United States, to put their forces also on the line to help protect their countries and help protect the world. I want to thank all of them because they dedicate their lives to their countries, to you and I, to help us remain peaceful, to help us remain free. Without that, we're nothing. So God bless our military, wherever they might be, here in the United States or abroad. God bless them. God bless our military throughout the world, that they might return home to their families after their tours of duty end. It's Christmas time. Some of our military members will not even be home for Christmas. Let's make sure they know how much we love and appreciate them. God bless them all. And thank you for your service, men and women. We love you very much. Anyway, I don't mean to belabor the situation. I love them, as you know. I care about our military. I care about each and every one of our countries. It doesn't matter where you live. I love each and every one of you. I love your countries, because your countries allow you to be free and allow you to tune in our channel and other channels to help you grow, to give you information to help you and your families get prepared for whatever might happen. Now, tonight's program is going to be just that. I want to give you information to help you prepare. I want to give you information so you know exactly what happened yesterday in Northern California during and after that earthquake that happened. As I reported twice yesterday, once in the afternoon and once in the evening, we talked about this earthquake. After the earthquake, the National Tsunami Warning Center said that there may be a tsunami. It wasn't very long after the warning was issued that it was rescinded, it was canceled. However, I want you to see what happens when, after an earthquake happens, out at sea, and I explained yesterday that the seafloor moves. I showed you the buoy out at sea that was bobbing around up to 12 feet difference in wavelength, 12 feet difference in waves. Let me show you what happens when a tsunami rolls in. I want you to understand this, please. Here's what happens. See the earth moving there? The seafloor moving? Look at that. The water moves as well. As the water approaches landfall, as the water approaches land, the seashore rises up. The bottom of the ocean floor rises up to the seashore. And when that happens, this is what happens with the wave. It grows. Most of us have been to the seashore. Boy, I can't speak tonight. Most of us have been at the seashore, at the ocean. I've been in San Diego. I can attest to San Diego and what happens in San Diego and Los Angeles. I've seen waves rise up. Sometimes if absolutely nothing is going on, the ocean might look like a lake, placid and even very soft, nothing going on. But when the moon is in the place where it's drawing the water up, yes, the moon and the planets have an effect on our own Earth with water. Not only that, but what's going on out at sea causes waves to rise up as well. An earthquake happened yesterday. Earthquakes happen around the globe. When the seafloor moves, it causes the ocean water to move as well. One part of the ocean may drop down, and the water rushes away from the seashore out to sea to fill the void where the ocean bottom moved down. Then it comes back. It comes back with a huge wave, as you see here. Let me play this through.
Today I am giving you 3.
Oh, crap. Okay? I want you to see this, please. This is what happened just a few years ago in Los Angeles when a tsunami hit out in the ocean, 2004. Now this is an hour and a half long. I don't want to show you the entire video here, but I want to show you what happened here. Look at that. People got on the roofs to get away from the water. In some cases, the water rushed over the roofs and carried those people out to sea. Major tsunami rolled in, guys. Big time. Those people did not have a chance one. They didn't get warned like the residents in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, and other places got a warning, a 3-second warning on their phones. 3-second warnings don't do anything. The 3-second warning didn't do anything in this case at all. All it provided them with is basically seconds to know, yes, it's going to happen. Yes, it's going to happen. And they don't get notified of anything. Down in Java, Indonesia, the earthquake was a 7.8. The wave rushing in off the Indian Ocean swept over the beaches, swept people out to sea, destroyed villages. That's exactly what happened in 2011 when the tsunami hit over in Japan. A 9.0 plus earthquake hit. Villages were destroyed. What happened yesterday? The earth moved. Yes, the tsunami buoy was registering a 12-foot difference in waves. Fortunately, there was no tsunami out on the shoreline. We got lucky. We got very lucky. Let's go and talk to a meteorologist, someone who used to work for USGS. I want you to see this. This is from ABC News Channel 7. I want you to see this. This is important to understand what happened in the Bay Area and what could happen again.
Right now, we want to get to a local expert who's internationally renowned for his expertise in earthquakes. We're talking about seismologist and also former USGS Emerita and Stanford professor, Dr. Ross Stein. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Stein, really appreciate you joining us because we want to learn a lot more about this earthquake. And you get, I know, super excited about these earthquakes. So tell us what you find fascinating, interesting about this one.
Well, first of all, this is kind of a two-step process. The original information on which the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center issued its warning is very different than what we know just a few minutes later. Initially, it was a magnitude 6.6 earthquake, which is about a tenth of the size of a magnitude 7. And it was in the same location, but a very weird, very shallow earthquake that involved a lot of vertical motion of the seafloor, which tends to produce more tsunamis. And that was the basis for that warning that we all received. But subsequently, it turned out to be a larger earthquake, a magnitude 7, but a very typical garden variety event on this northern extension of the San Andreas Fault, which we call the Mendocino Fault Zone. In that respect, it doesn't move the seafloor up and down very much, and it would be very unlikely for this earthquake to produce a large tsunami.
Dr. Stein, I of course understand you don't have a crystal ball to rub right now, but I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about the aftershocks that we could expect to see in the hours and days to come. We certainly don't expect the aftershock to be larger than the initial earthquake, but what could we expect to see?
Well, first of all, it does happen that aftershocks are larger than the main shock. It happens about, 5% of the time, and when that happens, we do a kind of a little 5-card Monte with you, and we call the first earthquake a foreshock, and the second earthquake a main shock. But we don't actually know anything. We just know that earthquakes beget earthquakes. So there is a possibility that something larger can occur, and this region is really the hatchery of large earthquakes in California. It's the most active seismic area in the entire state, just offshore Mendocino, and that's because the San Andreas hangs a left right at Cape Mendocino. There should be a blinking left turn signal there, and when it does so, there's kind of a crunch that goes on in the crust that produces lots of earthquakes. So first of all, larger earthquakes or additional earthquakes are possible here because we have a history of that. Second, it's a long way from the Bay Area, and only really large earthquakes produce tsunamis in any reliable sense. So I think the way we should think about this is a good kind of trial run for what would happen if we got, let's say, a magnitude 8 earthquake up there. Then the whole Northern California coast would really be in play, including the Bay Area, although because of the Golden Gate, the waves that would come through would be pointed more or less toward Emeryville. So it wouldn't be bay-wide. We would expect more action down there than anywhere else.
Okay, you're causing Julian a little concern here. And what you're saying is totally consistent with what we saw with the messaging, too. I think Emeryville, Alameda, Berkeley, Oakland all sent out these urgently evacuate messages. Right. Can you talk about how that might work if there was an 8.0 in terms of what we could see in the Bay itself?
Well, we had a dress rehearsal for this in 2011 when the magnitude 9 Tohoku earthquake launched a giant tsunami which traveled across the Pacific. It travels at more or less the same speed that an airline travels. So it took about 12 hours to reach the Bay Area. And there was significant damage in Santa Cruz Harbor. There was massive damage in Crescent City at northernmost California, and some modest damage with 2-foot-high tsunamis in the Emeryville area. So that kind of tells us what to expect, because a magnitude 9, even though it's so far away, is able to launch a much larger tsunami than even a magnitude 8 at our northern end of the state. So we've been through this, and we know kind of what to expect, and it means get out of the way, get to higher ground, and recognize that this isn't going to be the kind of giant wave which takes out the Golden Gate, but something modest, but still worthwhile to get off the beach.
Ooh, there it is. There's
There
the
it is
video.
in Santa Cruz.
Oh,
Yes.
just from 2 feet.
Yes, that's actually a really interesting image that you were able to throw up there so quickly. Kudos to you, because you can see that even though this tsunami is only several feet high, it does a lot of damage. And so the message is, if you're off the beach, you're fine. And the boats, well, they're more or less designed for it.
Speaking of damage, we're thinking back to the most recent significant earthquake that we felt here in the Bay Area, Loma Prieta, in 1989. Dr. Stein, can you talk a little bit about some of the structural improvements that we've made to homes, bridges, infrastructure in the 35 years since Loma Prieta, so that we are prepared for a significant, a powerful earthquake to strike here in the Bay Area?
Well, it is night and day what has happened. The Cypress structure collapsed, and so the Embarcadero Freeway was removed. It was an eyesore, so there's one of the, if you like, weird silver lining benefits of that earthquake, is we now have a beautiful waterfront in San Francisco and a much safer transportation system. Don't ask me why it took 26 years, but we now have a new east span of the Bay Bridge, which is seismically strengthened. There's been resurfacing and recabling of the Golden Gate Bridge. PGE has spent well over $1 billion strengthening its power delivery systems. Caltrans has spent about the same amount strengthening freeways. So in that sense, the state and agencies have responded very, very strongly to making sure that we have a safer infrastructure. Now, I wish I could say that the same thing is true for individual homeowners, where I don't think we've done anywhere near as much. But yes, transportation and services and communication are all in better shape today than we were at the time of the Loma Prieta earthquake.
Indeed, and I was getting a little PTSD looking at the video from Loma Prieta. We saw the Cypress structure, right, that pancaked, as you mentioned, and the Bay Bridge partial collapse there. And it does make me feel good what you're saying about the improvements in our infrastructure. But where exactly do you think the improvements to homes around the Bay Area, where has that fallen short? What do we still need to do?
Well, so few people have seismically retrofitted their homes. It's relatively inexpensive, you know.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how I afforded.
Just a second, guys. I'm sorry. I can't put these ads here on the air.
You know, it's the cost of a half bathroom, basically, to make your home that much more safe against earthquakes. That's something, in my judgment, anybody with a home that was built, let's say, before the 1990s, before the Northridge earthquake, should do and is affordable.
Do what?
You know, the number of people the percentage of people who take earthquake insurance is about 15%. That's awfully low when you think about the consequences, because for all of us Californians, if we're lucky enough to own a home, that's our principal asset. So our ability to be there for our loved ones and take care of everybody's needs means we need to live in homes that don't collapse around us. We could, as individuals, do so much more.
Professor, we've felt about 35 aftershocks so far. Drew has let us know, the largest being a 5.0. We know that earthquakes can be very frightening, they can be very destructive, but they can also be teaching tools for us to better prepare for larger earthquakes in the years to come, because as we all know, the big one will eventually be here. What will you specifically be looking at, and what are you looking to learn as we dissect this 7.0 magnitude earthquake that was felt off of the Humboldt County coastline?
Well, aftershocks, most aftershocks occur on the fault that ruptured, and so that's probably a 30-mile long segment of what we call the Mendocino fracture zone, and that's expected. But sometimes aftershocks occur well off the fault, either to the south or to the north, and they could trigger some other event, because earthquakes occur in a kind of a chain reaction. So while a very typical earthquake sequence for a magnitude 7, the largest aftershock will be around 6, and then we'll have maybe 10 5s and 100 magnitude 4s. That's kind of the most likely scenario, but it could trigger something larger, because we have seen sequences of events off Mendocino. So what is the most worrisome possibility that this would trigger a Cascadia, a southern Cascadia megathrust event, which is capable of a magnitude 8 or 9. Is that likely? No, but it's more likely today than it was yesterday as a result of this event. So we do want to monitor it. We do want to see that these off-fault aftershocks aren't progressing in one direction or another. This is why we have monitoring systems onshore and off, because we understand how important it is to give everybody the best kind of warnings we can.
Okay.
Okay? Like he said, they want to give the most up-to-date information that they can. They want to make sure that the information they have is going to help people, that's going to give them the information they need to make decisions. That's exactly what we're doing here. Now, that was only a 10-minute report on ABC News 7 in San Francisco. What I'm going to give you tonight is more up-to-date information than that. Okay? As Professor Stein from Stanford University said, that earthquake came out as a 6.6. Within a matter of minutes, USBS upgraded to a 7.0, then a 7.3, then a 7.2, and then downgraded to a 7.0. I believe it's probably a 7.2. As I said yesterday, and I showed you some of the information that I had from the back seismologist study page of USBS. They only showed about 200 plus earthquake seismographs on their back seismologist study page. Only 10 of those seismic readings were 7.0 plus quakes. The rest were 6s. I don't even remember seeing a 4.8 or anything like that. All the rest of the seismic sensors were saying it was 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 6.8, 6.9. What I believe happened since the USGS was showing it as a 7.0. They doctored the report. They went through the figures, the seismic readings, and changed them. As I said, the earthquake first came out as a 6.6. Then they upgraded to a 7.0, 7.3, down to a 7.2, and back to 7.0. They did not want anybody to understand how strong this earthquake really was. That's the bottom line. But this was a big earthquake. It originated out to sea, about 100, 150 miles out to sea, away from the California coastline. It was west of the Cascadia subduction zone. West of the Cascadia subduction zone. Let me take you back to the USGS map momentarily to show you what we know about this earthquake. Let me bring up the map here. Let me take down my webcam and this banner here. I want to go over here to the map here and show you exactly what happened and what is actually happening right now. Okay? Let's zoom in here to the Cape Mendocino area. Okay? The Cape Mendocino area is over here on the land. It's over here on the land. The Mendocino Fault runs from the Gorda Escarpment. This earthquake fault running west away from the California seashore. Okay? Over here on land, we have the Mendocino Fault. And it runs eastward away from the seashore. But what do we have here? What do we have? What is this huge fault line? It runs all the way from Northern California down through California into Mexico. It's a San Andreas Fault, isn't it? Look at all the earthquakes here today. Okay? I said yesterday the total number of earthquakes was over 300. They kept taking the number of earthquakes down, so nobody could tell what happened. They're still not showing all the earthquakes here today. The earthquakes that they are showing, though, are important to understand. As NCWQ Worldwide News and Disaster Explorer Rebecca said, and it's not just Rebecca, we have Don Patoka here. We have Richard here. They've all kept track of these earthquakes and what's going on. USGS keeps taking the number of earthquakes down, so we don't know what exactly happened. Even the main shock from yesterday has been taken down. Of course it has. After the 24-hour period that ended at 10:44 a.m. yesterday Pacific time, USGS took that earthquake off the map. And rightly so. Usually USGS keeps those earthquakes up for 24 hours. Usually. But after an earthquake is already seen, USGS has a habit of taking it down, whether anybody really sees it or not. These are the remaining earthquakes that they want us to know about. Look where the main part of the earthquakes are. Look where they're at. They're either right at the triple junction where the Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to come out of, the Juan Lafuca plate and the Farallon plate and the Cascadia subduction zone up around Vancouver Island, Seattle, and Tacoma area off the coast. The Cascadia subduction zone comes down from there all the way down here. It meets up with the Gorda Escarpment and the San Andreas Fault and what they call the triple junction. This is where you see the most earthquakes congregate today. The triple junction, and west of the triple junction as well. All these earthquakes make a difference. All these earthquakes, there's nothing more than a 4.8, 4.5. Well, actually, there was one 5.0 earlier today. One large 5.0 occurred today. All the rest of these are 4.6, 4.7, 4.5, and such like that. There's also lesser earthquakes than that, 3.2, 3.8, 3.5 earthquakes as well. Now, we will see lesser earthquakes in the coming days. However, USGS probably will not be reporting them after tomorrow. They won't show them to us because they don't believe it's anybody's business. But we're going to see aftershocks for days, weeks, and months after this quake. This quake yesterday was a major earthquake. Major earthquakes cause a lot of other earthquakes to continue happening over a long time period. That's going to happen. This is actually going to happen. Now, there are other earthquakes all around the globe today. That normally happens as well. But I want to talk about this Cascadia area. As Professor Stein said, the earthquake yesterday could have rendered a 8.0 to 9.0 earthquake down here on the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone. It could have done that. And yes, it's still a possibility. It is still a possibility that could happen. However, most scientists believe that the cascading event is still going to happen up here, offshore from Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, and Vancouver Island. Out here on the Cascadia subduction zone, fault zone right here. Okay? On the Cascadia subduction zone and or the Juan de Fuca plate here. The Juan de Fuca plate fault zone is this zigzag fault zone that you see just west of the Cascadia subduction zone. Okay? Scientists believe this is where the last earthquake came from. Scientists believe that this is where the last earthquake came from. Now let me give you a little bit of history here. I believe it's necessary to understand what exactly happened here. Okay? So please hang in there with me while I show you this information. Hold on a second. Now, the last day's earthquakes, Thursday's earthquakes, have everything to do with what we're talking about tonight. I want everybody to hang in here with me while I give you some explanation. Okay? I believe it's important to understand. Yesterday this earthquake hit. Major earthquake. Again, the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center issued a tsunami warning. It was canceled even before it got much press. Canceled. Because they didn't believe it was necessary to put out the information. Fact. Now why? What happened? There was little or no tsunami at all. So they canceled the tsunami warning. Now, what is going on? What is actually going on? Back in 1700, January 26, 1700, scientists say the earthquake that hit, the Cascadia subduction zone quake, was about an 8.0, 9.0, 9.9 earthquake. 8.0 to 9.9 earthquake. It can still happen. It can still happen. There are several, shall I say, people that saw this earthquake happen. First off, the American Indians that lived in the area. They thought a great big huge bird landed on the earth and shook it. They saw water coming in and they evacuated the shoreline area. Went far enough inland. But they did not record anybody getting hit by waves or anybody getting swept out to sea. They knew it happened. There's not much record about it. Then there's a mariner that was out to sea on a ship. He saw the waves. At the same time he saw these waves, he said he believed that there were one of two volcanoes erupting, either Glacier Peak or Mount Rainier, or maybe both. He wasn't sure. What else happened? That earthquake caused a tsunami. It caused a tsunami, and 12 hours later, that tsunami reached over to Japan. Reached over to Japan. The Japanese people kept immaculate records. They kept a record of exactly what time that the tsunami reached Japan. And now scientists now have good records to show that this earthquake, the Cascadia megathrust earthquake, happened at approximately 9:20 p.m. in the evening. What else happened? Huge tsunami wave was generated that went over to Japan. What else happened? The tsunami wave was generated also affected everyone over on the American continent, the West Coast. Affected everybody. Now, why is that important? What happened? When that tsunami wave hit the West Coast, it went miles inland. Hundreds of thousands of square miles were affected up and down the entire West Coast of North America. Alaska, Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California. Hundreds of thousands of square miles of land was affected by that tsunami. It is unknown exactly how far the water went inland, but it did. It did. Now, scientists have also seen what they call ghost forests. Land with trees, cedars, black cedar trees were not affected by the water necessarily, other than to die because it was salt water, not fresh water that they were getting. But the bacteria was not allowed to grow on the cedar. And the cedar trees are still standing there in swampy areas and sediment. What else happened? When the earthquake hit, the water table on the land rose. The water table on the land rose, especially in Washington and Oregon. What is that called, ladies and gentlemen? What is it called when the water table rises and all of a sudden we have quicksand? What is it called when the water table rises and we have quicksand? Can anybody tell me? It's called liquefaction. Liquefaction. That liquefaction caused sand and water and salt water from the ocean to combine to kill those trees, but not allow bacteria and mold to develop on the trees and take down the trees. So the trees stayed there. The trees stayed there. Then what else happened? The water rose, creating liquefaction. As the American Indians said, their buildings, their teepees, were either swept off the beach out to sea, or the liquefaction caused their buildings, their teepees, to disappear in the quicksand. The liquefaction, creating a ghost forest. Swellen said ghost forest here. The liquefaction caused a lot of damage. The same thing held true over in Japan. Liquefaction caused buildings to sink into the land mass out there. Buildings were knocked off their, shall I say, foundations, flimsy foundations at that point in time. The Japanese people had not learned yet until recently how to build buildings without them getting knocked down by earthquakes. Buildings got knocked down, they lost buildings. There was one ship that was laden with rice that they were trying to offload onto smaller ships to take further inland on rivers. because of that tsunami. It forced that ship full of rice into the rocks, completely destroying the ship and rendering that rice food completely worthless. It's unknown how many people were killed by the tsunami in Japan, but records indicate there's probably quite a few. Yes, tsunamis kill people. What happened in 2011 when the 9.0 earthquake hit over there in Japan? 1,500 people were killed. Homes and businesses were destroyed. Cars and buildings and homes were swept out to sea by the tsunami waves. It's just not just one wave, it's multiple waves. Wave after wave after wave. The waves can continue for hours, if not days. That's exactly what's going to happen when this Cascadia megathrust earthquake comes again. I want to make that clear. Things are happening. Sleeping Volcano, take care of yourself. Sleeping Volcano's here in the chat, folks, and she had a coughing fit. So she has to take care of herself to keep herself safe. Take every time you need, whatever time you need. We care about you. We want you to be safe. And your husband as well. Anyway, I'm trying to give you a good idea what happened yesterday and what's going to happen again when the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happens. Now, instead of only having 100 people, 200 people die between Japan and the American Indians in Washington and Oregon, and even Northern California. Now the coastline, British Columbia, Vancouver Island, up and down British Columbia to the north over to Haida Gwaii, Queen Charlotte Island, all the way down into Southern California. Highly populated areas. Highly populated areas. What's going to happen? The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is going to be felt all the way up north to Alaska. Not just over in Washington, Oregon, and Canada. The force of that quake is going to be felt up north into Alaska, up and down the entire coastline of Canada, all the way down the coastline of Washington, Oregon, and California, all the way down to northern Mexico. But the power of this earthquake, the power of the earthquake is going to be felt all the way across the North American continent. All the way across the North American continent to New York, Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, Canada, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, all the way across the entire continent. That's how strong this earthquake is. That's how strong they believe this earthquake is going to be. A lot of people are going to be inconvenienced. What does it mean to be inconvenienced? To not be able to do the things you normally do on a given day. Not to be able to drive where you want to go. The waves of this earthquake are going to reach far inland, up and down the entire west coast of North America, miles inland. There is some talk saying that the earthquake and the water is going to affect inland, up to 5 miles inland, over Interstate 5 in Washington State and Oregon. That's all fine and good. But how many thousands of people live in that area? Not just in short apartment complexes or homes or businesses. Tall buildings are also going to be affected. That tsunami wave is said to be at least 50 to 150 feet tall. Not just one wave, but multiple waves. As we know, the buildings over in Vancouver, British Columbia, on the island, up and down the coastline of Canada, Alaska as well, Washington and Oregon are tall. Yes, we have some buildings that are probably as high as 80 stories high. That water is going to reach most of those buildings. And as it goes down the streets between the buildings, the water is going to speed up as it goes through those narrower areas. It's going to be pushed through those narrower areas. And when it goes through those narrow areas, it's going to gain speed, which is also going to push that water further inland. Areas are going to be destroyed. Areas are going to be destroyed, ladies and gentlemen. Some buildings probably will be knocked down, rendered useless. Other areas, who knows what's going to happen. But people are going to die. Property's going to get destroyed. No, I'm not painting a pretty picture. I don't want to paint a pretty picture. I want to give you an idea that you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared for whatever happens. Whether you live to see this earthquake happen or not, your family will. Your family will. NCWQ Worldwide News and Disaster Explorer just gave us a $2 super chat. Becky, I just gave you an EMA sticker on your super chat and a thumbs up for that. Thank you so much for that super chat. If any of you want to give us super chats, we'd love to have that as well. It's your donations to our program that keep this program on the air. We can't do it without you, honestly. So we appreciate your super chats. We appreciate your donations to our PayPal and our Venmo addresses, which are just below this video today in the top of the program description. And our address is flowing across the bottom of your screen, where you can send us cards and letters, and included a donation to our program, which we greatly appreciate. Getting back to what I'm talking about. You need to be prepared. This is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Rebecca just gave us another $5 super chat. Becky, thank you so much. God bless you. I just gave you another EMA sticker. I just gave you another thumbs up for that. God bless you. We really appreciate it. As we reported with yesterday's earthquake, there were some roads over in Rio Dell, just outside of Ferndale, California, that were damaged. Last earthquake that we had in that same area was just north and east of yesterday's quake. USGS said it was a 6.8 earthquake. It was not. It was a 7.4 earthquake. Roads were damaged in Rio Dell, in Ferndale, in Petrolia, and I believe one other town, I can't remember the name of it. Homes were knocked off their foundation. That was a lot stronger earthquake than they said it was, and I proved it at the time. Again, the agency lies about the earthquakes. They lied about yesterday's earthquake as well. I don't believe we'll ever have the truth out of the USGS, ever. Even when President Trump takes over on January 20th. I believe the USGS, unless Elon Musk and our other buddies of Doge and the other agencies turn these agencies upside down and kick them in the butt and get them to do what they need to be doing. Unless that happens, nothing is going to change. The politicians in this country and around the world control everything we do. They have control over everything we almost say. Yes, we do have some freedom of speech, but it is regulated. And yes, we have had people that have gone to jail. There have been political prisoners in prison as a result of what they've said. This year, Mr. Peter Navarro was one of them. He's now out of jail, and he's going to be one of President Trump's most beloved counselors, advisors. And I don't remember the name of the other gentleman right off the top of my head. But he just got out of jail before the election because he supported President Trump. And now he is unleashing on the Democrat Party, the politicians, trying to put them in check. Heidi Petrick just gave us another $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Heidi. God bless you for that. We really appreciate it very, very much. Anyway, homes got knocked off their foundation over in Rio Dell last night. Or yesterday afternoon, I should say. Roads were damaged. There was very little damage in San Francisco. However, the earthquake was felt in San Francisco. The earthquake was felt all the way out to Reno, Nevada, and all the way down to Los Angeles. This was a major earthquake. Can you imagine what's going to happen when we have the 9.0, 10.0 Cascadia megathrust earthquake? It's going to do major damage. I want to make sure everybody is aware of what's going to happen and how we're going to get there. Yes, Becky, Dr. Fauci and many others need to go to jail and not be pardoned. However, we have a president in power right now that may pardon Fauci, because Fauci's built into this place. They're going to try to protect him. But even if they do protect him, what's going to happen to him? He's going to be drawn into Congress just like Joe Biden's buddy, his son, is going to be drawn back into Congress. Just because he's pardoned doesn't mean he's not going to be held accountable. This time, he's not going to have Fifth Amendment protection. He has to tell the truth. If he lies on the witness stand in Congress, he's going to go to jail. He's going to be held as a political prisoner in jail and have to pay thousands of dollars in fines. Just like President Trump had to in New York. He had to pay thousands of dollars in fines, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Had to be paid out to that dirtbag woman in New York City who violated his rights and violated the Constitution of the United States. Fauci did the same thing. He killed people, he violated their rights. but they're going to have to be able to testify about what they know. And if they don't do that, they'll be held accountable. Trump and his people will make sure of that. I can assure you. Renee Steffi's asking, will they pardon those January 6th victims that are held in prison right now by the damn Biden administration? Oh yeah. Yeah. If Biden doesn't pardon them, President Trump will on January 20th. Be assured of that. Be assured of that. Yes, Richard Smith says Dr. Fauci had more to do with HIV as well. Absolutely did. It's proven. It's a proven fact. Folks, let's get back down to this earthquake. I want to talk about this earthquake. I have a lot more information here. Now, what do we know about the Cascadia earthquake? It's going to be felt up and down the coast, from Alaska down to northern Mexico. It's going to be felt across the entire continent, the entire North American continent. Now, yesterday, that earthquake warning system was used. It gave victims in California and even Oregon 3-second warning before the earthquake hit. 3-second warning. Even though that's 3 seconds, you can't do much in 3 seconds. Maybe it will get better, we don't know that. Gives several seconds warning to know that there's strong shaking that's going to arrive at locations far from the epicenter. Automated alerts from fledgling West Coast earthquake early warning system are ready to be used broadly by businesses, utilities, schools, and other entities, but not for mass public notification yet. Not for mass public education yet, or notification yet. Some people didn't get notified. Others did. Why didn't everybody not get notified? Because the system isn't brokered to do that as of yet. Now, they say they're making a large change right now from a production prototype in pilot mode to open for business operational mode. Doug Gibbon, who is an earthquake early warning coordinator for the USGS, he held a news conference yesterday at the California Institute of Technology, Caltech. The system built for California and Oregon and Washington detects that an earthquake is occurring, quickly analyzes the data, and sends out alerts that may give warnings of several seconds to even a minute before a strong shaking occurs at locations far and wide, even away from the epicenter. Now, that might be enough time to automatically slow trains. Those few seconds might be enough to stop trains, to stop industrial processes, to start backup generators at hospitals and other critical locations. It might be seconds enough to pause a surgery or send students scrambling for protection under desks and tables. Pilot programs for this early warning system involving select users have been underway for many years now. The system is not yet finished. It's not complete. There is a lot of work yet to be done. However, there is a lot of capability built into the system, as even it already exists today, to the point that could definitely be used in the future. The sensor network is about 50% complete, and funding has been secured to complete it in California. And in the next 2 years, or get even 2/3 of the way built out in the Pacific Northwest. Another key development occurred September 28th, when a new generation of Shake Alert software was deployed. Gibbons said among its important improvements is a reduction of false and missed alerts. A reduction in false and missed alerts. This is important because we don't want anything to happen when something major happens. We want to get notified, don't we? We want to be given enough time to save ourselves and our families' lives. When a large quake occurs elsewhere in the world, it might be detected by a sensor, and it's mistaken for a local trembler. Right now, if an earthquake occurs elsewhere in the world, what they have now might mistake it for something that's happening locally. That could be very bad. Officials now want to open up Shake Alert to a wide array of applications, and they are encouraging potential users to contact the USGS. Now, that doesn't yet include mass public notifications for several reasons, including the fact that current cell phone technology is too slow for timely delivery of notifications. Our cell phone technology is too slow for timely delivery of notifications. Most people expect to get the alerts on their phones, and that is, of course, preferred way. But the Shake Alert people want to get away from it and get the information out to the people anyway. Unfortunately, the technology is built into the phones to send you notifications was not designed with earthquake early warning in mind. So they're not going to get it through the phones yet. Now, there is a man that just resigned from Congress today. Pencil neck representative from Democrat from California, Adam Schiff, who has championed funding of this system, said it will be important to make sure people know what the alerts mean and what to do when they get those alerts, what not to do, and to understand there may be false alarms in the system. Adam Schiff resigned Congress today under indictment for putting out false information. Isn't that interesting? The same man that secured funding for the earthquake early alert system resigned for putting out false information to Congress, and him being a congressman there as well. Now, the education component is going to be very, very important here. But what we have is a wonderful milestone from what we've had in the past. We can now see the end, and the end is in sight. Now, I hope within the next 2 or 3 years that the Shake Alert system will be fully built out and funded and in operation. And I'm also hoping that with the Shake Alert system, more and more people will be able to get information out of the system and be able to survive, be able to live after the fact. I keep getting this stupid health telephone calls. I'll be sure glad when the stupid system is operational, or we still will not get all these telephone calls trying to sell us Medicare and Medicaid. It's a joke. It's getting ridiculous. I get anywhere from 69 telephone calls a day trying to sell me health insurance. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I want to talk more about what happened yesterday and what we can do after the earthquake. Let's talk about after the earthquake. Once the shaking stops and there is a clear and safe path, once there's a clear and safe path to get out, grabbing your earthquake kit. Do you all have earthquake kits? How many of you have an earthquake kit? How many of you have an emergency preparedness kit? How many of you have an emergency preparedness plan? What happens if your home is destroyed by an earthquake? Are you going to know what to do? Are you going to know what to do and how to do it? I hope so. Once the earthquake stops shaking and there's a clear and safe path out, you grab your emergency preparedness kit and leave your home, or you leave the building you're in and get to an open space. You try not to touch any walls or chimneys, as those walls and chimneys could crumble. Don't touch them. Just get out. Remember this, aftershocks may hit at any time. So the quicker you can get out to open ground and away from danger, the quicker the better. Treat any injuries that you or other family members may have. Treat the injuries you or family members may have. Bruises, cuts, open wounds, treat those, because you don't want any infections at all. You want to make sure you escape the earthquake without problems. Treat your injuries that you or your family members or your neighbors may have. And if you need to, call for medical assistance. Now, I've talked about this many times. I'm going to say it again. You may not be able to get medical assistance. You may not be able to get medical assistance, fire assistance, or law enforcement assistance. That may last hours, or it may last days, or even longer than that. You need to have your emergency kit full of food, water, your medical kit, clothing, a shelter such as a tent, a ground cloth, or any other equipment that you need, because you may not be able to go back in your home. What if you're trapped under some kind of debris? Under your desk? Under rafters that have fallen down? Under doorways that have fallen over? Or under other debris from walls falling on top of you? What if you're trapped under the debris? We need to stay calm, don't we? We do not want to light a match. You do not want to light a match or a lighter, as leaking gas may cause a fire and or a big explosion. Do not light a match or a lighter. Try not to move too much, as dust is going to go into the air, and you're going to breathe it in. And that dust and other particles in the air may be detrimental to your health. Instead, cover your mouth with your clothes or a handkerchief or a towel. Tap on a pipe or a wall so rescuers can find you and hear you and rescue you. Tap on a pipe or a wall, making noise. Don't yell out, because yelling will waste your voice. Yelling might hurt you, because if you're yelling, you're inhaling dust and particles and dirt in the air. Don't do that. Tap on a metal pipe or a wall to get attention. You're going to want to get people's attention. But don't shout if you don't have to. You don't want to inhale that dangerous gas, dangerous dirt, or other particles in the air after the building has collapsed around you. You don't want to do that. Now, how about utilities? How about if you're not hurt? You're going to want to deal with utilities. Dealing with problems promptly can prevent further damage and injuries to yourself or others. Check for gas leaks. If you smell gas in your home or you hear a hissing noise, open a window and leave immediately. Open a window and leave immediately. This is a very dangerous time period, as you can die from toxic fumes, and your home or your building could explode. If you have the ability, you might have a wrench, a wrench or pair of pliers. Go out to your gas meter. Go out to your gas meter. You're going to see a vertical pipe like this. At that vertical pipe, you're going to see a little lever on the side of that pipe. That lever might be 3/4 to an inch wide or inch long. When the gas is on, that lever right next to the pipe will go perpendicular, or not perpendicular, it will go the same direction as the pipe. You may want to turn off the gas to prevent other access exploding your home or your building. Get a wrench or a pair of pliers. Place that wrench or pair of pliers on the one side, the one end of that valve. Then you're going to want to turn that valve like this. When you turn the valve where it's sitting like this across the pipe, that should turn off your gas. It should be just like this right next to the pipe when the gas is on. Get your wrench or pair of pliers and turn it like this. That should turn your gas off. Okay? Turn the main gas valve outside off. Then, you may want to call your gas company right then. If you're not able to get through them, go ahead and wait. The gas is off. There's less likelihood of an explosion unless there's a gas line beneath the ground. But you may or may not be able to smell the gas beneath the ground. If you do, get out of the area. Leave that area. And still try to get hold of the gas company. Once you turn off the gas in your home, you need to stay out of that area. Okay? Do not turn the gas back on yourself. Wait to get somebody from the gas company to find out if you have a leak in your house. And let them deal with it. Let them deal with it. Don't you do it. And do not turn that gas back on yourself. Let the appropriate authority, let someone from the gas company or even the fire department come out and turn your gas back on. Do not do it yourself. The fire department may say, no, wait for a gas person to do it themselves. They probably will turn it off, but will not allow you to turn it on. Okay? Second, you want to check for electrical damage. If you see sparks or frayed wires, turn off the electricity at the main fuse box. Turn off the electricity at the main fuse box. You'll see breakers. You'll see breakers. You'll see a breaker just like this. It may be in the on position, or it may be up like this in the on position. Flip it off. Flip that breaker off, turning off the electricity. You may want to turn all of the breakers off. Turn all of the breakers off. Okay? Especially before you see a spark. If you see a spark or frayed wires, turn the electrical breakers off. Okay? If you don't have breakers in your home is old, you might have a switch. You may still have screw-in fuses. Most of those screw-in fuse panels are gone. But just in case you have screw-in fuses, there is a switch at your electrical box. Flip it off. Do not switch it back on. Let someone check your home to make sure it's safe. Okay? If you see broken pipes and leaks, turn off the main water supply out in your yard or your sidewalk. Again, a good pair of pliers or a good wrench will turn off the water to save you from having a water leak in your home and have real problems from that leak. Turn the water supply off. Okay? Then what do you have to do? What do you have to do? In your emergency supply kit that we talked about, we've asked everybody to make sure you have copies of all your insurance paperwork, copies of all your ID cards, your driver's license, your passport. Take any pictures that you have of your belongings in your house. Take any pictures or videos of damage to your property, in your home, and contact your insurance agent to start your claims process. Keep everything in place when you're documenting the damage. And don't move anything unless you have to. Leave everything where it should be. Leave everything where it was. Don't move it. You will most likely need help in the recovery process or getting the claim started as soon as possible. You might find someone in your family to help you to get those funds started. The sooner you get hold of the claims agent, the sooner you might get some money. Some insurance agents after disaster will go out into the neighborhood to try to help those of you that have insurance. A lot of insurance companies do that. They they send claims agents out in neighborhoods to help people get started with the claims for insurance money. That way people have money to get hotel rooms to stay in if their homes have been so badly damaged they can no longer stay in those homes. So make sure you get hold of your insurance agent fairly quickly so you can get that process started. Okay? Listen to the news either by radio, television, or even social media. Listen to the news by radio, television, and on social media for emergency information and instructions. Now, we've told everybody that you need to have an emergency AM/FM weather radio. When Hurricane Helene hit here, I had 3 emergency radios, allowing me to hear emergency notifications. All 3 radios were dead. Yet I had just tested them weeks before. I got a new AM/FM weather radio. You need to have one of these. You need to have one of these, guys. These radios have a possibility of saving your life. Okay? Number 1. On the back of it, it has a wind-up arm here, and you turn the arm for about 3 minutes. You crank it for 3 minutes. That will give enough energy to your radio to be able to power it for about a half hour to an hour. Turn it for 3 minutes, giving it power to turn on. Make sure your radio is tuned to the NOAA weather radio frequencies. When you get your radio, check your radio and make sure your radio is tuned to the NOAA weather radio frequencies, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration weather frequencies in your area. It's different in some areas, but you can tune your radio and find those frequencies. Then leave those frequencies programmed in your radio. That way, when you have a major storm or some other catastrophe that hits your house, whether it's a snowstorm, a tornado, a hurricane, or whatever it is, you can use your NOAA AM/FM weather radio to tune into those frequencies that might be able to give you information that could save your life. In the event of a major emergency, such as a national emergency here in the United States or Canada, the authorities in your area can take over the weather frequencies and give you up-to-the-minute local information to try to save your life. They will give you emergency information that could save your life. So you want to make sure that happens. Now, if all you have is an AM/FM weather radio, or not weather radio, but just an AM radio or an FM radio, make sure you turn your radio to a news talk station. Tune your radio to a news talk station. Do not tune it to a radio with nothing but music. Yes, music is a fine thing. Music can calm our nerves. Music can make some things even better. But during an emergency, you need to have access to emergency information. A news talk station is going to give you up-to-the-minute local information in your own area. That's why we ask you to have an AM/FM weather radio. So in case all you have is weather information, you can tune your radio to a news talk station and get other information that you might need. Okay? Now, with that said, how about that? I accidentally turned it on. Go figure. Okay. Televisions. Do not turn your television to HGTV or even television stations that play just music, or they have other kinds of programming. If you have a television that works, turn your television to a television station that has news information. News, weather, and sports. Those stations will give you local information that you can use to help yourself and your family. Okay? You need to have that information. But again, if your radios or your televisions are tuned to any other station, that information The HGTV, the music and everything could be a distraction. After you get good information though, you can better go to those music stations to calm your nerves. That's okay. But use the information that you have. Use your radios and your televisions to get emergency information. Then you can do whatever you want. Okay? I'm trying to give you good information here. I'm trying to give you information here that can save your life. Now, other than that, learn from your experience. Learn from your experience. Whether you've had an earthquake or whatever the emergency is. Learn from your experience. Experience from your life. Was your earthquake kit, your emergency kit, and emergency supplies adequate? Or is there room for improvement? Did a lot of unsecured items fall or get damaged? Maybe it's time to secure those items even more closely, to protect those items from damage or loss, to secure them properly. Did your house receive damage? Maybe you can upgrade and make some structural changes. Turn those weaknesses into strengths. Repair those parts of your house so those parts are stronger. Was your evacuation plan adequate? Again, do you even have an emergency plan that we've been talking about? Do you have an emergency plan like we've been talking about? If not, why not? If not, do it now. Start on it now. Make your plans now. I've given you a lot of information over the years. You can go back over the last year and a half on this channel and find out where we have talked about emergency planning. It's in the title of the program. It's in the title of the program. Find those programs and watch those programs. Was your emergency plan adequate? Or can you make it better and make it safer? The key here is improvement. Chances are everything wasn't perfect. So now is your chance to take advantage of this situation. Take advantage of your experience and improve things in preparations and prepare for the next event. Prepare for the next earthquake. There's a 25% chance that any one earthquake can be stronger the next time. There is a 25% chance that any earthquake that's we're having right now could trigger a larger earthquake. Now, you can even share your experiences with other people. Share your experiences with other people and help educate them. Help educate them about hazards of earthquakes and other disasters and the importance of preparation. Only you can do this. Only you can do this. Don Keelman says, account for your limitations or anyone else's. Don't just count someone's inabilities because they may be more experienced in other areas. Don't just leave someone else out. Take them along with you. Maybe you can help train them. If they don't have much experience, train them. Put your arm around them and take them with you. Teach them and give them experience as well. Just because they don't have experience doesn't mean you can leave them behind. Don't leave anyone behind. Don't leave anyone behind. Don't leave anyone behind. If they need medical assistance, give them medical assistance or give them help. If they are able, they can help you. Do not leave anyone behind. They can be your best right-hand woman or man. Take them with you. Demonstrate proper leadership. Demonstrate friendship and love and caring. Sometimes that's all anyone wants. Sometimes that's all anyone needs. And all of a sudden, they'll blossom like a rose. And then you're going to find out just how much you know or how much you don't know. Make sure you take everybody with you. Don't leave anybody behind. Help everybody. Help everybody. Do I have any questions about anything we talked about so far tonight? I wanted to put this presentation together for a long time. I made certain that this presentation had a lot of information in it to be able to help not just me but everybody else. Yes, I learned from all of you as well. I appreciate all of you. You guys help me as well. Do you guys have any questions for me? I will be happy to help you all. Demon Catman says he got kicked off. We're glad you're back, Dean. Appreciate you. We appreciate each of you being here. We appreciate all of our moderators here. Our mods are the best in the business, the best of YouTube that could be offered. A lot of these people that we have as mods are my best friends. I brought them in under my wings and told them, come on, let's do this together. And they've been wonderful people. They're my best friends. I love them more than anything. All of you are my family. I love you as well. I'm trying to bring you along and help you. Help you help your friends. Help you help your neighbors. Help you help your family. Together we become a huge family, don't we? That's why I ask everybody during our programs, share each one of our programs with everybody that you know. Share them with your family, your extended family. Share our programs with your neighbors, your friends, your social media contacts, and even the people you work with. I wouldn't say anything that would embarrass you or anybody else on any of our programs. I want you to be able to share this information far and wide. Yes, I'm looking to make sure this channel grows. Why? Because as more and more people find this channel, then our preparedness message gets out and we can help more and more people. And the more and more people we draw in, guess what? The better our knowledge gets. I help you and you help me. That's why I want this program to go far and wide. Right now we have 5,809 people that are subscribing to this channel. Before a year and a half ago, YouTube didn't like me talking about certain topics. I've been on the air for years. I had over 25,000 people that subscribed to my channel. YouTube ended it. I immediately started another channel a year and a half ago. Now we have nearly 6,000 subscribers. I am hoping this channel really takes off again. And we get some of those subscribers back but we get even more so we can help more people. That's why I talk about subscribers. This channel is not for me. This channel is for all of you. This channel is for all of you. As I grow, you grow. As this channel grows, all of us grow together. We have an even larger family. Now, YouTube is still suppressing this channel. Before yesterday, usually we'd only have like 300 or 400 people that were able to watch or pay attention to this channel on any given evening. Yesterday, during the afternoon, we had over 1,000 people that watched our first afternoon program yesterday afternoon, talking about that quake in Northern California. Last night's program, we reached 1,700 people. Last night we reached 1,700 people, and we gained even more subscribers, which I'm grateful for. Yesterday's two programs, we reached nearly 3,000 people. We reached out and touched nearly 3,000 people. YouTube allowed it. Because yesterday we're talking about an emergency, and we're still talking about it, aren't we? I want to reach out. I want to make sure we can get as many people prepared for any kind of emergency or disaster. That's why we came on the air in the beginning, to talk about emergencies and disasters, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, fires, huge storms, shootings, explosions. We've covered explosions at oil refineries. We've covered train derailments and explosions out on train tracks. We've covered almost any kind of emergency, including snowstorms, rainstorms, fires, flooding. We've covered it all around the United States and around the world. I am still committed to doing that. I'm still committed to emergencies and disasters anywhere and around this world. I'm committed to that. I'm committed to all of you. I want to make sure we do that. I have family members all around this world. I have family all over this world. You are also my family. I care about each one of you and your families, your friends, your neighbors. I care about each one of you. Please, folks, help us reach out and touch someone, to bring them into our community, to help them prepare. Folks, I love you. I care about you. There's a reason that we're all here together. Always and forever here together. Now, at the end of our programs, I put together devotionals from the scriptures and other things that I put together to be able to lift us up. I'm a big believer in Jesus Christ. At the beginning of tonight's program, some woman came on our chat and immediately began preaching. Our mods have been instructed by me to take that information off the chat. If you're not talking about what we're talking about, I don't want you on the chat. I want you to be able to prepare to find out more information about emergencies and disasters. Find out about what we're doing before you start commenting in the chat. Yes, it's okay to talk about Jesus Christ at the end of our program. I know that Jesus Christ is coming. That was what the woman said. But at the time she said it, it was inappropriate. Just because there's an emergency and a disaster doesn't mean that Jesus Christ is going to return that minute. Jesus Christ is coming back. I testify of that. I believe Jesus Christ could return at any time, literally. I believe we are being prepared for the second coming of Jesus Christ. I believe we're being prepared. Only God knows the time and the date that his return is coming. But I believe his return is imminent. My buddy Don Patoka's here. He says stand for something. Know your God. My God, your God, same thing. I don't have a different Jesus Christ than you do. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. But we need to be prepared. Even Jesus Christ told us to be prepared. I open up the scriptures to Timothy tonight. This week, earlier this week, even on Sunday, during our Sunday school class, we talked about preparedness. We talked about faith. We talked about love. We talked about charity with an eye single to the glory of God. Qualifies us for the work. Here in Timothy, chapter 1, here in verse 5. And now the end of the commandment is charity, out of a pure heart, and of good conscience, and of faith unfeigned. Verse 8. But we know that the law is good, if a man use it lawfully. Where have we heard that before? It's here in the scriptures, isn't it? Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and the disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers. Now, the Apostle Paul is talking to his brother and best friend Timothy. Throughout all the epistles that Paul wrote, from prison or wherever he was at, he told people, according to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, which was committed to my trust. And I thank Christ Jesus, our Lord, who hath enabled me, for that he counted me faithful, putting me into the ministry. Wherefore I am ordained a preacher, an apostle. I speak the truth in Christ, and lie not. A teacher of the Gentiles in faith and verity. And I will therefore that men pray everywhere, lifting up holy hands, without wrath and doubting. Paul talked to everybody. Paul wanted everybody to have the message that Jesus Christ had for all of us. But Paul didn't stop there. I want to go over here to Philippians. I want to go over here to Philippians here. In Philippians, Paul talked to us. Paul talked to all of us. And I want to share this scripture with you because I feel close to each and every one of you here on our program tonight. In Philippians chapter 1, folks, a long time ago when I was in my mid-teen years, 16 years of age I believe it was, a dear family friend of mine, a family friend of ours, brought me into his office and sat down and talked to me. And he showed me a scripture that I am telling you about tonight. Philippians chapter 1, verses 3, 4, and 5. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, for you, all making requests with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel, from the first day until now. Paul spoke to all of us. Paul spoke to everybody that he met, everybody he traveled to see. And he told them the same thing. I thank my God upon every remembrance of you. In every prayer, everything he did was a request and joy to bring them into the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's what I try to do here. I try to give you information to help you. That information also comes from God. I bear you my testimony that I know Jesus is the Christ, the very Son of God. I know that. And through the gospel of Jesus Christ, you too may also know the truthfulness of the gospel. You too could be blessed and helped. You too can become part of our family. And together, we may grow, we may learn, we may fellowship. And when the time comes, I hope to see you standing next to me in heaven, standing next to me in reading Jesus Christ. I am looking forward to that day. May God bless you. May God bless you to help you. Again, bring our family together. Bring as many people into this family here on this channel so we can help everybody. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. Have a good night, everybody. Tomorrow we'll take the day off. If there's anything big happening, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available, tonight or tomorrow. Again, we're taking tomorrow off unless something happens. On Sunday, we're going to come on the air about 12:30 with a lesson about Jesus Christ. Our Sunday school class is called Come Follow Me, the Savior Said, on this channel. I hope to see you here on Sunday, if not before. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. I care. Bye-bye.